Now let's go through the Cisco Packet Tracer Lab. The topology is straightforward. You have a router connected to a switch, and two PCs connected to that switch. The router's interface G0/0 will be configured with the IP address 192.168.1.1 and a subnet mask of 255.255.255.0. This interface will serve as the default gateway for the PCs and for the switch's management traffic. Both PCs will obtain their IP configurations automatically through Dhcp, which we will configure on the router. The switch itself will also receive a management IP address from the same Dhcp pool. The first step is to configure the router interface. You start by entering privileged exec mode with the enable command, then global configuration mode with configure terminal. From there, you select the interface G0/0 using the interface G0/0 command. Assign the IP address and subnet mask with IP address 192.168.1.125.255.255.0. Bring the interface up with no shutdown, and then exit back to global configuration mode. It is always a good idea to verify your work, so use show IP interface brief to confirm that G0/0 is up and has the correct address. Next, we need to prevent the router from assigning its own IP address to any Dhcp client. This is done by excluding addresses from the Dhcp pool. The command is IP Dhcp excluded address followed by the address you want to exclude. In this case, you exclude 192.168.1.1. You will also exclude 192.168.1.2 because that address will be reserved for the switch's management VLAN interface. You could also exclude a larger range if you need to reserve addresses for servers or other static devices. The command for excluding a range is IP Dhcp excluded address 192.168.1.1, 192.168.1.2, or you can enter them individually. Now we create the Dhcp pool. This pool defines the range of addresses that will be leased to clients. The command IP Dhcp pool LAN creates a pool named LAN. Inside the pool configuration, you specify the network and subnet mask with network 192.168.1.0.255.255.255.0. You then set the default gateway for the clients using default router 192.168.1.1. Optionally, you can also assign a DNS server with DNS server 8.8.8.8. After these commands, you exit the pool configuration. With the router fully configured, we now move to the switch. By default, all ports on a Cisco switch are in VLAN 1 and are in dynamic auto or dynamic desirable mode, which means they will negotiate trunking if they detect another switch. For a basic lab like this with just end devices connected, we want to ensure the ports are in access mode and explicitly assigned to VLAN 1. Even though VLAN 1 is the default, it is good practice to be explicit about it. You start by entering privileged exec mode with enable, then global configuration mode with configure terminal. From there, you select the interface for PC1, which is typically fast Ethernet 0/1 or Gigabit Ethernet 0/1 depending on the switch model. The command is interface fast Ethernet 0/1. You then set the port to access mode using switch port mode access. This command tells the switch that this port is for end devices only and should not attempt to form a trunk. Next, you assign the port to VLAN 1 with switch port access VLAN 1. You then exit the interface configuration. You repeat the same process for the port connected to PC2, which is usually fast Ethernet 0/2. After assigning both ports, you exit the interface configuration. Now we configure the switch's management interface. The switch needs an IP address so that it can be managed and also so that it can communicate with the Dhcp server on the router. The management interface for VLAN 1 is called interface VLAN 1. You enter interface VLAN 1 and then issue the command IP address Dhcp. This tells the switch to obtain its IP address from the Dhcp server on the router. You then bring the interface up with no shutdown. You exit back to global configuration mode and then exit to privileged exec mode. With the switch management interface configured to use DHCP, the switch will send a DHCP request to the router and receive the next available address in the pool, which will be 192.168.1.3 because we excluded 192.168.1.1 and 192.168.1.2. The switch will also receive the default gateway information, which is 192.168.1.1. Now we move to the PCs. On each PC, go to the desktop, then IP configuration, and select DHCP. After a few moments, each PC will receive an IP address. PC 1 will get 192.168.1.4 and PC 2 will get 192.168.1.5. The switch will have already taken 192.168.1.3, so the PCs will take the next available addresses. Each PC will also receive the subnet mask and gateway automatically. To verify that DHCP is working, use the show IP DHCP binding command on the router. This will display the least IP addresses and the client identifiers associated with each. You should see entries for the switch's MAC address with IP 192.168.1.3, and entries for PC1 and PC2 with their respective IP addresses. You can also check the pool statistics with Show IP DHCP pool to see how many addresses are available and how many are leased. Finally, test connectivity. From PC1, ping the router's gateway address, 192.168.1.1, to ensure it can reach the default gateway. Then ping PC2's IP address, 192.168.1.5, to confirm that the PCs can communicate with each other through the switch. You can also ping the switch's management IP address, 192.168.1.3, from PC1 to verify that the switch is reachable. The switch ports being in access mode and assigned to VLAN 1 ensures that no trunking negotiations interfere and that all devices are in the same broadcast domain. This is a clean, predictable setup for a basic DHCP lab. For exam purposes, remember these 4 essential DHCP commands. The first is IP DHCP excluded address to reserve addresses. The second is IP DHCP pool name to create the pool. Inside the pool, you need the network command to define the subnet, and the default router command to set the gateway. Optionally, the DNS server command can also be used. These commands form the core of a basic router-based DHCP configuration. Additionally, remember the switch configuration commands. The first is switch port mode access to set the port for end devices. The second is switch port access VLAN 1 to assign the port to the correct VLAN. For the switch management interface, the command is interface VLAN 1 followed by IP address DHCP. These are just as fundamental to this lab as the DHCP commands on the router.